In the quiet suburbs of a sleeping town, 17-year-old Marcus Reynolds lived a life that many would consider unremarkable. Yet to those who knew him well, he possessed a distinctive charm that set him apart. His teachers praised his thoughtful nature and consistent academic performance, while his family treasured his gentle demeanor and reliable presence. But perhaps what truly distinguished Marcus was his peculiar habit, a nightly ritual that had become as natural to him as breathing. Every evening, regardless of the weather or season, Marcus would position himself by his bedroom window, gazing upward at the vast expanse of stars scattered across the night sky. This wasn't merely stargazing. It was his form of meditation, his private conversation with the cosmos. The stars had become his confidants, silent witnesses to his thoughts, dreams, and the subtle transformations of adolescence. His family had grown accustomed to finding him perched by the window, his face illuminated by the soft glow of distant celestial bodies, lost in what seemed like an intimate dialogue with the universe itself. The careful rhythm of Marcus's life continued undisturbed until that fateful night in mid-October. The air was unusually still, the temperature hovering just above freezing, creating the perfect conditions for stargazing. As always, Marcus had settled into his favorite position by the window at 2 a.m., his eyes trained on the constellation Orion, which had always held a special fascination for him. The neighborhood below lay in peaceful slumber, street lights casting long shadows across empty driveways and perfectly manicured lawns. It was then that something caught his eye, a movement that seemed out of place in the stillness of the night. At first, Marcus dismissed it as a trick of light or perhaps a stray cat. But as his eyes adjusted and focused on the source of the movement, his heart began to race. There, in the shadow of the Morrison house across the street, a dark figure moved with calculated precision. The figure, dressed entirely in black, was methodically working at the back window, movements so fluid they seemed almost choreographed. Marcus's breath caught in his throat as realization dawned. He was witnessing a robbery in progress. The figure, whose features were obscured by both darkness and distance, managed to slip through the window with an eerie grace that spoke of experience and preparation. Minutes that felt like hours ticked by as Marcus remained frozen, his mind racing with conflicting impulses of fight or flight. Just as he considered reaching for his phone to call the police, the figure emerged from the house, carrying what appeared to be a small safe and several items that glinted in the moonlight. In that crucial moment, as if guided by some cosmic force, the mysterious figure looked up directly at Marcus's window. Even from that distance, Marcus could feel the weight of the stranger's gaze, a connection that sent chills down his spine. In that brief exchange of looks, both parties understood the gravity of the situation. Marcus was the sole witness to this crime, a role he had never anticipated playing in his quiet life. The following days passed in a haze of anxiety and hypervigilance. Marcus maintained his regular routine, attending classes, completing homework, helping with household chores. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, his mind constantly replayed that night's events. He debated whether to come forward with what he had seen, weighing his civic duty against the potential consequences. The decision was partially made for him when, 5 days after the incident, his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The message was brief but chilling. "Your silence ensures your survival. Speak, and it will be your last word." The threat, stark in its simplicity, confirmed Marcus's worst fears. The burglar had not only identified him, but had also managed to obtain his phone number. This revelation transformed his nightly stargazing ritual from a source of comfort into an exercise in paranoia, each shadow potentially concealing his anonymous stalker. As the days progressed, Marcus began to notice subtle signs that he was being watched. A black car that appeared too frequently in his peripheral vision, footsteps that seemed to echo his own on his way to school, and the constant feeling of eyes following his every move. The mysterious figure had become a shadow in his life, an unwelcome companion in his daily routine. But Marcus was not one to be easily intimidated despite his gentle nature. Years of observing the stars had taught him patience and perspective. The universe operated on patterns, and so did human behavior. He began to study his own patterns, noting how predictable his routine had become, and realized this predictability could be turned into an advantage. With careful consideration, Marcus devised a plan that would require timing as precise as the celestial movements he so often observed. He maintained his usual schedule but began leaving subtle markers, a particular way of arranging his backpack, specific times when he would check his phone, patterns that appeared random but were actually carefully orchestrated signals. One evening, while performing his usual stargazing ritual, Marcus executed the first phase of his plan. He wrote a detailed account of the robbery, including every observation his careful eyes had made that night: the burglar's height, build, movement patterns, and the exact times of entry and exit. He noted the way the figure had moved, suggesting professional training, and included details about the stolen items he had observed. This account was sealed in an envelope and hidden in a location only he knew about. The next phase of his plan involved establishing a pattern of visiting the local library after school, ostensibly to study. This new routine served two purposes. It gave him a predictable schedule for his stalker to follow, and it provided him with access to public computers. Using these computers, Marcus began researching similar robbery patterns in the area, building a comprehensive picture of what he suspected was a series of related crimes. As autumn deepened and the stars shifted in their eternal dance across the night sky, Marcus implemented the final phase of his plan. He created a series of encrypted documents, each containing portions of his witness account, and scheduled them to be automatically sent to the police department's anonymous tip line at specific intervals. The encryption key, along with additional evidence he had gathered, was set to be delivered only if certain conditions were met, conditions he controlled. The culmination of his plan came on a night much like the one when it all began. Marcus had noticed that his stalker had grown somewhat complacent following the patterns Marcus had carefully established. Using this predictability against his observer, Marcus employed a series of misdirections worthy of a celestial dance. He appeared to follow his usual routine, but had actually coordinated with law enforcement through an elaborate system of coded online activities that appeared innocent to any observer. The police, armed with Marcus's detailed observations and the patterns he had helped establish, staged an operation that caught the burglar off guard. The mysterious figure, who had thought himself the hunter, discovered too late that he had become the hunted. The arrest was swift and silent, much like the robbery that had started it all, but with one crucial difference. This time, justice was being served. In the aftermath, it was revealed that the burglar was part of a sophisticated ring of thieves who had been terrorizing the region for months. Marcus's careful observations and methodical approach to gathering and sharing information had not only solved one crime, but had helped unravel an entire criminal enterprise. His ability to remain calm under pressure and think strategically had transformed a threatening situation into a triumph of intelligence over intimidation. The stars that had been Marcus's constant companions throughout his ordeal seemed to shine brighter the night after the arrest. As he sat at his familiar window, gazing upward at the eternal dance of celestial bodies, he reflected on how this experience had changed him. The quiet young man who had once simply observed the night sky had discovered an inner strength he never knew he possessed. The following years would see Marcus channel this experience into a career in astronomical forensics, combining his love for the stars with his newfound talent for observation and pattern recognition. His nightly ritual of stargazing continued, but now it carried new meaning. A reminder that even in the darkest of nights, light finds a way to shine through, and that sometimes the most quiet observers can make the loudest impact. As for the mysterious figure who had threatened to end his life, they found themselves contemplating their own poor choices from behind bars, perhaps finally understanding that they had underestimated the quiet young man who spoke to stars. Marcus's story became a testament to the power of patience, intelligence, and courage, qualities that, like the stars themselves, often shine brightest in the darkest of times. In the end, Marcus's quiet life resumed its normal rhythm, but with a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance between light and darkness, justice and crime, courage and fear. His gaze toward the night sky never wavered, but now it carried the wisdom of one who had faced darkness and emerged stronger. The stars, his eternal confidants, continued their nightly vigil, watching over a young man who had proven that sometimes the most powerful acts of bravery come not from confrontation, but from the quiet, determined pursuit of justice.